And welcome to Romeo's very first cast that he's ever done. Everybody knows that the best way to do a cast is to pick a totally random replay and have zero experience, and then post it on the internet for the world to see. So it looks like we've got Sven366, standard bulletins, standard commanders against Shell, who also has standard bulletins. Oh no, it looks like we've got I think, I'm not sure which one this is. I think this is something to do with Ura. Pretty sure. Alright, so let's see what we've got. We're on Minsk. For people who are not familiar, it's got a very heavy concentration of fuel right in the center. And the wings are mostly standard resource points, plus munitions and victory points. So we're seeing a conscript start from Shell, and a Pio start from Sven, and he's not getting his base building built with his first squad, but rather waiting for his second squad. And we see that Shell is going for the right side. He's probably going to send his conscripts to this fuel, maybe do some backcapping with these engineers. Looks like we're seeing an early OP from Sven. That can be a bold move. Maybe a little risky. He's probably banking on the fact that he'll be very unlikely to use this fuel. So we'll have this fuel almost guaranteed coming in if he even puts up a moderate defense. And then he'll have this one as well. But again, no base building and 200 manpower already spent on an OP 1 minute into the game. So we'll see how that plays out. Looks like second squad of conscripts coming in. And as expected, he's going for the back cap with the engineers and the frontal capping with the initial conscript squad.
Production upgrade accomplished.
And it looks like he's going with the skip tier 1. He's probably going to go for quick panzer grenadiers and a half track, which is a strategy I have always found to be really terrible, but maybe in recent balance patches it's a little more effective, who knows. Going for a quick bunker to defend his fuel, yep. He's banking on being able to hold this with nothing but Pios. And now he's retreating to get his tier 2 building up. Meanwhile, Shell has really spread himself out all over the map. Third squad of conscripts coming in.
We have it.
And probably going to be some conscripts versus Pios action going on here in a second. And these engineers are capping totally unopposed. And there you go. Mechanized company going up.
They're killing us!
So we don't see a retreat from these guys. It looks like he's going to try and make it all the way to the victory point and hope that they'll just stay in cap. And it looks like they are going to stay in cap, but he's also not making a move for the victory point. He's just standing there, which is a little strange. He's certainly not busy microwing anything else. He's only got 2 units. He's building his panzer grenadiers, and there they go. Shell has gone with 4 conscript squads. That is a little heavy on the tier 0. And then a medic upgrade, presumably to help out with the manpower bleed that 4 conscript squads will almost certainly incur. I'd be very surprised if he did not go with that hit the dirt. Which, as popular as it is not the only faction that is useful. I've actually found shock rifle frontline tactics to be very good, especially for the KV-8, which has incredible flamethrower damage right now, which probably won't last, so you should take advantage of that while you can. And shock troops are, of course, some of the best infantry in the game. although not very versatile. So we're seeing some micro issues here. A lot of just standing around, not doing anything. I have an engagement in the top left, conscripts versus a flamethrower squad. Clumping awfully close together in that green cover. And holding still. And he's shooting at the non-flamethrower squad first. Although for some reason that one retreated when it probably could have almost killed off an entire squad. And again, we just see idle units. Alright, here we go. Now we're moving up in the middle. Gonna be 2 squads of conscripts versus Panzer Grenadiers.
Enemy is engaging us!
The Ura. Panzer Grenadiers are not focus firing on a particular unit. He's left them idle firing. So that's not going to end well for him. Not to mention, total lack of cover placement. See a retreating conscript squad. Presumably he's going to try to take advantage of his healing upgrade so that even though they're at half damage, it'll only result in 1 actual loss. And he has not actually upgraded this bunker. Look at that. He built it and then never got the upgrade, and now he's taking this fuel point totally freely. Doesn't look like he has the munitions to purchase the upgrade either. He's not even close. Looks like a scout car coming in. It's an odd purchase considering the enemy has not built a scout car of his own, therefore it's not needed to counter it, and it's not really much good at anything other than that. It can do okay anti-infantry damage, but I'm not sure it justifies its fuel cost. Meanwhile, it looks like Shell is just all over the map. Captured pretty much everything. Still not being very aggressive up here. Rather preferring to just sit tight and wait for the enemy to come to him. But conscripts are really not very good at playing defense. It's best to have them moving up and capping at all times because, as you can see, they'll just get walked right over. Especially if the enemy has gone straight for Tier 2. Your conscripts are almost useless against anything the enemy will field other than pioneers. Pioneers without flamethrowers. Of course, now that we see hit the dirt, that won't be true, especially once he starts getting conscript assault package. Then they actually really can hold their own, even up against Panzer Grenadiers. We see he's got 100 munitions in reserve, and these engineers have been idle almost this entire time. He could be planting mines, he could be flanking around behind, barbed wire, anything. Retreating to tech up. See very little technology. He's got 150 fuel, and he hasn't built anything other than his special rifle command. He has, however, opted to go for a scout car. So he now has 2 engineer squads, 4 conscript squads, and a scout car. He's going to be a little low on AT doing this because he's got a special rifle command and therefore can't get the ZIS. He can get guard rifles and AT grenades, and that will be pretty much his only defense against heavy vehicles. And if we take a look at Sven, we see he's got Battle Phase 2 complete, 20 fuel coming in despite poor map control because of this early point that Shell has not destroyed. And he somehow has managed to hang on to this despite having almost no map control otherwise. So we may be seeing an early vehicle from Sven if he can hold on a little bit longer. He's already down to 300 victory points, and his Panzer Grenadiers are not faring very well. He's decided to go with a half-track, which is going to slow down his tech-up speed, as did his scout car, but maybe he'll be able to do some damage. He's definitely nowhere near being able to get flame projectors on there, but at least he'll be able to reinforce out of it. Shell pulls back to reinforce, and looks like he's going to make another assault against the middle with his conscript, possibly also this flamethrower squad, unless he actually takes some time out to tech up. He's now up to 200 fuel. We also see perhaps a cutoff attempt going up the left side. Meanwhile, it looks like the fuel is being stolen. Possible that half-track is going to be making its way up here as well, so that this squad can reinforce. It's going to be close, but it looks like they are going to be fine. Even with hit the dirt, I'm not sure that they're going to be able to win this fight. So pretty good move there by Sven, and again, Shell has very little AT options right now besides guard rifles, which he still hasn't brought any in. And he can't get his this. He could throw AT grenades, and he certainly has the munitions for it, but I suppose he has not teched up to them. But it looks like he's going with Tier 4, not the Tank of E, but the Mechanized Armor Campanella, which is always sort of an interesting move. The Tank of E sort of offers the quick solutions to more immediate problems. You get the T70, which is really very effective at a lot of roles. It can cap when it has veterancy. It can self-repair. And it looks like we see Sven moving in on the middle point, and we've got conscripts here hitting the dirt. But once again, he doesn't have any form of, not even soft AT, although it looks like the Panzer Grenadier squad hasn't been reinforcing, and it's going to go down. And I'm not sure why he allowed that to happen. He definitely could have been reinforcing that whole time and been fine. Meanwhile, he's taking heavy damage but no losses, so he can't reinforce. Now they can reinforce. Meanwhile, the conscripts are taking almost no damage. But they opt for the retreat regardless. And now we see that the reinforcements are coming in. So as I was saying, you lose access to the T70 and the T34, whose ramming ability is really very nice. And in exchange you get the Katyusha, which is honestly not great in 1v1s. It's 85 fuel, and a lone Katyusha is barely able to kill anything. If you have two of them, you can get some good kills against a larger blob, but really more of a team game unit. In 1v1, it can really be hard to justify that expense. The Su-76 is a pretty okay artillery tank, light tank, if even that. But really the hardest hitter out of this building, the thing you really want to get, is the Su-70 or Su-85, which he did. And that's a pretty viable AT solution, especially if you don't have the exist. So the Mechanized Campanella and the Special Rifle Command really go hand in hand in that sense. If you go with the Special Rifle Command and the Tank of E, then you can really struggle for AT. You're going to have some really good play with your T-34s, or you're going to have to really have a lot of them compared to how many tanks the enemy has. So as far as map control is going, Sven has made a bit of a comeback here. Shell is sort of all over the place, and while he's doing a good job maintaining the wings and the victory point control, he's at 500. He's really doing not so great at maintaining control of the fuel. And if we take a look at Sven's income, he's got 30 fuel coming in. He's got 100 right now. He's got his OP is still built, plus the 2 main fuel points. So that's going to spell disaster for Shell if he doesn't get some map control back. He's making a push on the left side, and he's bringing his SU. He could definitely afford to be a little more aggressive at this point. He has no reason to believe that the enemy has any form of hard AT. So far all he's seen is scout cars and half-tracks and Panzer Grenadiers with no Panzer Tracks. So his SU should have free reign of the battlefield for at least a little while. And it looks like he's come to his senses and he's going to go for a glorious charge. Oh, he's going to run right into that scout car and one-shots it. And those Panzer Grenadiers decide they won't last long.
The enemy has taken our supply sector.
So he's lost his far fuel point, but he's getting his victory point back. He really needs to slow down the timer, buy himself a little more time, or he's really going to struggle. He's still spread rather thin, and at this point he's really going to need to start grouping his units closer together, or he's going to have a lot of trouble. winning any engagement.
Shit, they're shooting at us!
Plus, he's definitely gonna need some AT for that SU. And it looks like he's going with a Panzer IV,
We have a new Panzer IV.
which probably is not the best choice in this situation because a Panzer IV probably can't even beat an SU in a straight-up head-to-head fight. If it were a T-34, it might be a different story.
We have casualties.
Probably would have been best off with a Stug in this situation. But maybe he wants the added versatility given the size of the enemy infantry army. And he's really doing just an awful job of preserving his units. He had 3 Panzer Grenadier squads just a minute ago, and now they're gone. Now he's down to 1, his tank, and his half-track. Plus, with the changes to the upkeep system recently, it's much harder to come back from a situation like this. It used to be you could just be devastated earlier in the game, and then your manpower income would shoot right back up. And if you were doing well, you would have almost nothing coming in, but the upkeep system's been just totally overhauled, so now he's really going to struggle to come back from this. As you can see, Shell has a huge army by comparison. Not even close. Not even close. He's got a Panzer Grenadier squad and a Pio squad, 264 coming in. Now he's got two squads, so 250 coming in. Shell has 4 upgraded, vetted conscript squads. Now, veterancy doesn't play into it, but 2 flamer squads, tank, second tank, and a scout car. We'll wait for that tank to come in. And we see that he's got 230 manpower income, and Sven has 250. Alright, so you see the disparity in their armies. Huge disparity, almost double the units. Yet the difference in manpower income is only 20 manpower. So it's really going to be very difficult for him to come back from that situation. He's really going to need to execute flawlessly from this point on. Which, holding still under fire of an SU is definitely not executing flawlessly. He's definitely got to get that tank out of there. If he loses that tank, it's pretty much GG. Not to mention, if you're going straight for Tier 2 and the enemy's got tanks, buy a pack. You really need one. Shreks are a nice soft counter. Of course, Panzer has its own anti-tank capabilities, but nothing beats a pack. It'll just tear an SU to pieces, no problem. So it's really a desperate struggle right now to hold on to the middle, and an MG would also really help him out, but he's not able to get one because it skips Tier 1. So he's just got to try and beat conscript in a fair fight, which is really going to be difficult. As you know, he went hit the dirt. He got the assault package. They're bedded up, and there goes his half track. He's just letting it die to the SU. Meanwhile, we see Shell has done a decent job recapturing the right side. He's got units sitting idle in his base, while his SU has free reign of the battlefield. He's pretty much focusing all his attention on just 2 of these units. These guys could be moving up the left side this entire time, but probably not necessary. It looks like Sven is really going to be struggling this game. He really needs to get that engine repaired, otherwise that SU could just walk right over him, no problem. And there's actually 2 SUs. Little does Shell know, all he really has to do is just... he just has to select his entire army and attack move the enemy base, and it'll be pretty much the end of this game. Because it's got a damaged engine and would not be able to effectively escape. And that 2 squads of Panzer Grenadiers doesn't stand a chance against its army of conscripts at this point. And their veterancy just keeps going up, and veterancy on this side of the battlefield. 1 vetted Panzer Grenadier squad, 1 vetted Engineer squad. Looks like this Panzer Grenadier is going to go down if he doesn't retreat. And the SUs are finally making their charge towards the enemy Panzer IV. He's moving up to Shrek, but not enough, and there goes the Panzer. He's He's back down to nothing but infantry. Oh no, he's got another tank coming in. But now it's going to be one Panzer IV against two Su-85s.
Enemy is taking our territory.
And his anti-infantry capabilities are really stunted right now, as he's got nothing but Shrek squad, one standard anti-gun squad, and a flamethrower. Reverse double vet assault conscript. And then he's just letting himself get picked to pieces. Oh, and we see a light artillery barrage coming in. He hasn't hit the dirt, so he's not trapped, but horrible first burst. Now they're pretty much clear of the plasma. He's only got 21 munitions coming in, so it takes 6 minutes to build up the munitions for that ability, and inflicting 0 damage. Although it did force the conscripts to charge into close range of that tank, so he did take some minor manpower bleed indirectly. Could be argued that that would have happened anyway, though. Looks like a spare squad of pilots has been constructed to make an attempt at grabbing the right side while the Soviet is otherwise occupied. Soviet looks like has gotten a Katyusha, so despite my claim that it's not viable in 1v1, this person has decided to add it to his arsenal. We don't have a very varied army here. Only conscripts for standard infantry, 3 squads of engineers, presumably for repairs, although we have decent flamethrower presence and could easily get a 3rd one because we have 600 munitions. And then beyond that we have Su-85s, a scout car, and adding a little bit of variety is this Katyusha.
The enemy is encroaching on our territory. Here.
So really, when you're up against conscripts that are just taking advantage of hit the dirt and you can't beat them with Panzer Grenadiers, which you won't be able to beat them with Panzer Grenadiers once they've got assault package and hit the dirt, you really need to back tech and get an MG. Or if you're doing well, get an Ostwind or something. Oh no, that was a lucky first rocket. Took out a whole squad.
We have our PPSH trying to shoot some.
However, you should make note of the fact that if conscript squad uses hit the dirt, it can't move for a decent amount of time without retreating. There's a pretty hefty cooldown on that. And given that they can't move, it is extremely easy to run them over with any tank, even a Stug. You can just drive right over the top of them and they'll have no choice but to either retreat or die. So that can actually be a very effective counter to hit the dirt, is just running them over with a tank. Of course, that does require you to drive your tank into a potentially very dangerous blob of conscripts. And that was a bit of a tactical misjudgment there on Shell's part. He walked right up to this just to inflict a tiny sliver of damage using a AT grenade and then lost the squad. Although it looks like Sven's about to do the exact same thing. Could be a good grenade though. Not that impressive. And of course, while he was doing that, the SUs tore his Panzer to shreds with relative ease. And yet again, we see that Sven is now in a pretty bad position. He will be very lacking in AT now. He's got 1 Panzer Shrek squad. Meanwhile, scout car full of engineers has taken it upon itself to retake the entire left side. We see that a lone squad of conscripts has been idling on the right for some time. Looks like they're gonna try and see what they can do, moving in alone. And it looks like Shell has run out of units to build. Despite the huge size of his army at this point, he still has a decent 200 manpower coming in. He's got 1,000 and another 175 fuel. And he just doesn't know what to get. He's doing so well. And of course it doesn't matter, as Sven has now surrendered. So, somewhat promising start with good fuel control, but awful unit preservation. This bunker never actually got upgraded throughout the entire game, which makes it sort of questionable as to why he bought it in the first place. We saw some pretty decent play from the Soviet side this game, but not a particularly varied composition of units here. It would have been nice to see maybe some back tech to assist. Really wasn't necessary, though. In fact, if anything, the Soviet played overly conservative. Probably could have rolled right over everything that Off-Tier had about at the 15-minute mark, maybe earlier. So, lots of room for improvement on both sides. But still an interesting game. And